Hey, this is Meta. You're listening to Meet Katie's Lowering the Tune podcast. Jó vételt, szevasztok!
Okay, if you're anything like me, you'll be sick to death of politics by now. So next 2.5 hours, you're going to just switch off and forget the world that we live in is completely fucked. Welcome to episode 18 of Lowering the Tone. Many thanks to Ben Coda, who hosted the last episode. He had his production partner, DJ Ipcris, in for an interview. It's very funny, so head off over to the website and take a listen. I was lucky enough to have one of my favourite techno producers over this week for a chat, Mr. Ant Wilson, aka Chicago Loop. It's the first time I met him, and he's a very nice chap indeed. But that's at the back end of the show. Before we get started, I need to give the benefactors a shout. These are the people that allow us to do the show ad-free by making a donation. So Sam Warren, Tony Ramirez, Andy Waller, Ian Snedden, Thomas Beryl and my old mate Barney Walters. Thank you so much, and Barney, I hope to catch up with you next time in LA, mate. Right, enough chat, onwards and upwards. Let's get into the show. few shouts. Commie, George Miller, Jamie King, Matt Bartholomew in Minneapolis, Andy Companies. Thanks for the review on the Life Support Machine, Andy. That's really, really appreciated. Miss Monument, Tom Clyde, Simon Potter. I mentioned you later in the interview, actually, Simon. Carlo D'Andrea, Sean, Matty, and all the Perth crew. I'll see you soon in Perth. Heading out there, and I'm going to be playing at Blazing Swan Festival. I believe that's in April. All right, let's move on.
You're listening to me, Katie, on Lowering the Tone.
Right, a few more shouts. Massive congratulations to Charlie Kane, who won our remix competition for Just Quiet, which was myself and Ben Coda. Well done, Charlie. Honourable mentions as well. Lixa, Alan Cross, Chad North, Alina, Aaron Hensley and Stephen Cole, all of which turned in some fantastic remixes.
disco shit.
The driven snow.
Last of the shouts, I promise. A few producers I need to give a mention to. Eddie Santini out there in Edmonton. And also Etika. I need to give Lawrence a shout. He's delivering some fantastic material, so keep an eye on our label. It's Lowering the Tone, same as the podcast. We have a heavy release schedule lined up for 2017, so it looks like we're back in the mix.
is Arcana, and you're listening to Lowering the Tone with Meet Katie.
Dedication to my mate Matt Goddard. I know you're digging that dubby techno, so here's some dub speaker for you. as I mentioned earlier, got Chicago Loop coming up for an interview. So here's a little something to whet your appetite. It's his remix of Motive and Thoughts. Stone cold killer of a track in my opinion.
More trouble and woes. It's the mind that they chose. It's designed to stay closed. Standards of jokers, court jester logic, cyclic and cosmic from schoolyard to college. Primitive man in his civilized knowledge. System collapse and he still won't acknowledge. God is the savior, studies behavior, trying to fix the mixed mind that he gave you. Stiff-necked scholars on prescription meds, wishing their problems was all in their heads. Moral dilemma, pride at the root, misguided from youth, heart divided from truth. Divided from truth, divided from truth, divided from truth. Egyptians and Grecians, spiritually dead. Empirically led by the good gods in their heads. Motives and thoughts, industrial wealth, global economy in it for self. Heart full of madness, covered with kind. Pleasure designed to take over your mind. Furnished in godliness, painted in good. This tainted priesthood's got real saints misunderstood. While classes and government set up the veil and cultivate minds for more mythical tales. Typical Hollywood follies, good girl. While vice and corruption take over the world. Motives and thoughts. Motives and thoughts. Pure motives and thoughts. Motives and thoughts. Motives and thoughts. Pure motives and thoughts.
need to give a few shows a plug. On the 25th of February, I'm going to be at the Tribe of Frog at the Lakota in Bristol. And that's alongside Neurodriver and Geo and a host of other psychedelic talent. March, I'm going to be heading out to Australia. As I mentioned before, I'm going to be playing at Blazing Swan. But you need to check my Facebook for any other shows that I might be doing. Also, while I'm at it, I need to give this a plug. The 2nd and 3rd of June, myself, Ben Coda, Neurodriver will be playing at the Triplicity Festival in the UK.
strive so hard. They forgot why. Why? There is no mercy.
Soy Josie Telch, estás escuchando Lowering the Tone.
you want to track listing to the show, you need to head over to loweringthetone.london and hit subscribe, and we will mail them to you. Just a couple more tracks. last track. If you like any of the re-rubs I play, you can pick them up over at my Meet Katie Bandcamp page. Best way of doing it, like everything else, is to subscribe. There's a few treats over there, even if I say so myself. Okay, that's it. I hope you enjoyed the mix. There was no deeper selection this episode, but it kind of got deep in places. I'm going to be bringing that back next episode for sure. Right, so let's get into that interview. I must apologise, I had a stinking cold, so I did sound a bit rough.
Exclusive.
Okay, I'd like to welcome Ant Wilson, aka Chicago Loop,
How you doing?
to sunny Surrey.
Thank you very much. Yeah, sunny today, isn't it?
Yeah, thank you for coming down. Really appreciated. We've got lots to talk about.
Thanks for having me.
I know we've been chatting a lot over breakfast, so I know a lot of this stuff now. But how are you going?
I'm good, very good actually. Yeah, I'm enjoying the weather. It's been a while since I've seen the sun.
Yeah, you've just got back from
Colombia.
Colombia.
Yes, very.
It wasn't hot, no?
Oh no, it was.
All right.
It was, but ever since every day I've been back, it's been cold and raining. So
yeah, it's miserable, isn't it?
I've been back about sort of 2 weeks now, and so today's the first day where it actually kind of feels like spring's coming. So
yeah,
that's very nice.
So.
Very English talking about the weather straight off, isn't it?
Exactly, straight into the
Stop
weather.
the music. Let's talk about the weather. It's 10 degrees.
So that's right. That just made me giggle. Where should we start? Should we start with what you're up to now, or should we start kind of backtrack a little bit?
I really don't mind. What I'm doing now, kind of. Okay.
Well, I'll tell you what. Here's a good point to start. Is I picked up on you probably about a year and a half ago, maybe around that. And like I said to you when we had breakfast, I saw the name and I thought, I'm going to like this. And I did. And it's sort of featured quite well in my set. It's also on the podcast as well. So if anyone's listening to the podcast that's a regular listener, you would know Ant's music because I've been playing it on the show. How did you get started with it?
Well, I started it about 3 years ago. I used to play harder techno before, since sort of 93, 94. And so I started the Chicago Loop project.
Harder techno as in...
I was kind of in the London underground scene. Sort of, I never played that much kind of acid techno, but it was kind of around the free parties,
right.
Which then kind of evolved a bit more and it went a little bit global. But that was my life sort of since 1993 up until sort of like 3-4 years ago. And I thought, I'm going to start the Chicago Loop thing. It's a name that I'd actually used 15 years ago, but never really kind of took up on it. So I wanted to move away from the London Underground thing. I wanted to move away from that scene. I wanted to kind of find myself a new challenge, kind of get more into the kind of the more modern techno that's happening at the moment. And it was like, right, I need to come up with this name. And I thought of so many names and some fit the bill and some didn't, but I'd kind of revert back to this name that I'd used 15, 16 years ago after I played in Chicago. And I just saw this, it's named after a ring road or a train, or it's an area of Chicago called Chicago Loop. And I just thought, at first I didn't even think it was really I liked it that much, but it's a sticky name, and that's important. Yeah. I think in this day and age, and actually, it's kind of it's working. So it kind of serves a purpose, but it's kind of also got a nods back to, obviously Chicago and the musical history there, and it's got the name Loop in it, and it connotations, and it kind of sticks, and so that was it. Like sort of 3 years ago, decided to bring this name back up, to use it again, and just concentrate on it solely.
You said about London Underground, it's like, it's definitely tougher and a faster tempo. But I mean, your project's pretty banging for techno.
It is. It's on
it goes off.
It's what's the saying about teaching old dogs new tricks? I like to kind of bring that with me. It's only going to be natural that I'm going to take that with me. And actually, if you kind of look through, say, my Beatport page, it kind of tells a history. The very earlier stuff was even harder, and it kind of seems to be getting you can see the journey and the progression with it.
Well, I'm going to say this because I didn't say it to you earlier, but I love this track, Nuclear Party.
Oh, you like? Okay, yeah.
Fucking hell,
Yeah.
amazing track. Love it. Just the groove.
It's Balthazar Jackrock's label, Renaissance. Yeah.
Just the jacking, just love it, and it's relentless.
Yeah.
It kind of pulls back and then it just comes back with
Just
vengeance.
it harks back to those kind of London Underground days, you know.
Good,
it's that kind of relentless drive of, the kind of sound system, free party music.
How did you hook up with that? What's it? Balthazar
Jackrock.
Yeah.
I mean, those guys know.
But they're from like
they're Bulgaria.
Bulgarian, yeah.
I mean, those guys were playing harder, faster music back in the day anyway.
Right.
You know, and they're very well established, and they kind of did that same journey, got into the kind of more, slower, clubbier, kind of more modern techno, and I can't remember how. I think he just sent me an email.
But that's their roots as well, then.
That's it. Yeah, they come from the same roots basically.
Okay.
But they're doing really, really, really well for themselves now. And it was a couple of years ago. I think he just got in contact with me, Jack Rock, and said, can you do an EP for us? And
wicked.
And what was quite funny is they asked me to do, because they were obviously with their roots and where they came from, there was this acid techno anthem called One Night in Hackney, which was moving away from that scene, and I'd spent sort of like the last year moving away from that thing, and they came through and said, hey, we've licensed this, can you do a remix for us on this? And it's like, well, this is everything I'm trying to move away from. But they put out like 6 remixes of it from various people that were a more modern techno version, myself and Angie Core, and I think they did a remix, and various people. It was like a modern day take on it. So
right, okay, yeah, it's funny you say that. It's probably around that time I got in touch with them as well, and then because I got on the mailing list because I particularly liked the stuff that they were doing, because it was techno but it had a bit of guts.
Renaissance is a great label.
It's a really good label. Yeah, it's definitely worth checking out if anyone's listening and don't know what we're talking about.
Yeah, Renaissance.
Yeah. So that sort of brings us up to like now, because then you've been releasing on Respect.
Yeah.
And again, love this label.
Paul and Rich were, again, they're kind of old ravers. They've been around a long time, various different scenes as well. And it was actually one of my first kind of EPs that came out. I sent to them. They put something up on Twitter saying looking for demos, and I had this kind of big rave track that was kind of done. A lot of my stuff is kind of taking old rave sounds and modernising it with modern drums, and this was kind of like a classic example. And I sent them both tracks, and they got back to me straight away. I said, yeah, we love it. We're going to put it out. Did a remix, and that was kind of one of the first releases that I had as Chicago Loop on Respect, and I've been working with them ever since. And I mean, they're great producers, and like Paul's got this thing now.
It's Paul Maddox.
Paul Maddox, yeah. So it's Rich is doing his together. They're Spectre, Paul Maddox and Rich Wakely, and Rich has got his tech house thing that's going really, really well at the moment.
Right.
And Paul's got this thing called Vertical Drop, which he's just started, and it's like old school rave breaks.
Right,
it's really great stuff.
Yeah,
really.
Vertical Drop.
Yeah. And he played me a couple last year. I wrote a track, maybe the year before actually. Shoot from the Hip and Strobe.
Oh yeah.
Or Strobe Light. So I went up to the studio, and when I was up there, he played me some of his Vertical Drop stuff. Just awesome. You'd really like it, actually. Yeah, old school rave breaks. Superb.
Wicked.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll definitely check them out.
But great guys, great producers, and together Respecter and their label Respect is
I mean, they've definitely got quality control written all over it. What they put out, it's always
it's one of my favourite
standard
labels.
Yeah, definitely. Well, Rich has got the Filthy Rich stuff, but
well, it was Filthy Rich. He did change his name to Rich Wakely.
Right, so that's the name he's working under now.
He's got releases on Suara I think that's how you pronounce that label. But yeah, I mean,
Spanish house label. Isn't it?
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah,
great.
it's wicked.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just met that Kuyu. Is it Kuyu?
Koyu.
Yeah,
I mean, yeah.
Like
That's his label.
Yeah.
I tell you what I like about it is he runs a cat foundation. Actually,
I heard this. I heard this is where the pictures come from, isn't it?
Yeah, I think he models himself on a cat.
Jesus.
But excuse me, they have. I mean, there's not everything on that label kind of to my taste, but they do. There's been a few. There was one really big hit that I used to play a lot, and it was his remix of "Matter of Time."
Right,
I can't remember who did the original. I think it was Koya's remix. And
right, okay.
That's a massive techno anthem.
But I mean, they're really well distributed across the genres. They seem to be having success in various different genres.
Deep house,
techno,
tech
house,
exactly.
And progressive as well. And I mean, they're right up there in the top 20s of all these genres. So I mean, it kind of goes. It can be done, I guess.
It's absolutely. I keep my eye on that one anyway. That's always a gem in there somewhere.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I'd look out for his stuff. Rich
Wakely.
Wakely. All right. Cool. So now, I mean, look, obviously, we spoke, so we are going a bit over old ground. But what's your sort of plans? Sort of where you're heading, sort of creatively.
I'm still making a product. That's my main aim at the moment. That's my main focus and has been for a while. I stopped what I was doing before quite abruptly and just concentrated solely on this project. And it's create that product and try to push myself, try to refine it, get it down to what I've got down in my head. But from a producer point of view, it never quite happens, does it? It's a journey, and I'm just experiencing a journey, and I'm enjoying the journey that I'm experiencing. But at the same time, I want to create a quality product and translate and convert that into, spreading the word with gigs and etc.
You're pretty busy. I mean,
it's getting better this year.
Your date sheet was looking pretty heavy last time I looked.
It's better this year. I mean, I knew that starting a new project I was gonna suffer playing musically. You're not going to get gigs straight away, and I was relatively comfortable playing as I was before, and that's given me half the drive. Is I want to get back to playing the same amount of dates that I used to be before changing my name and creating this thing. So that's a lot of the drive behind it, and the only way to do that is to create a quality product and get yourself out there.
Yeah, just a solid brand that people can trust.
Exactly. And with consistency.
I mean, everything evolves around consistency.
Exactly. So that's really the goal at the moment, is just to continue to create this thing, create this product, try to sell it, convert it into gigs, and that's the main focus at the moment. I don't want to. I'm not looking at too much of a bigger picture. Right. I'm also aware that I'm getting on a bit now.
How old are you?
I'm 41.
You're young. I'm 45.
Yeah, but it's if you translate that into how long these things can take, sometimes you think.
Well, I feel like I'm just getting started.
There's a lot. Actually, do you know what? I've enjoyed the last 3 years more than the last 20 previously before that. It's fun.
Hitting the restart button.
It's fun again. Yeah. It's nice to get those get those phone calls or those emails. You sending me an email saying do you want to come on the show? It's exciting again. And I'd lost so much of that from the last 5 years of where I'd come from. Yeah, I'd really missed that excitement and little things like just getting remix requests from some people, like Sasha Karasi, saying, can you do a remix for me? I mean,
well, I know him from the Breaks days. He made Breaks back in the day. He's Italian guy, isn't he?
Italian, he's from Rome, yeah.
Yeah, I used to play. He had a couple of Breaks tracks that I used to play. I mean, this was like, probably 98, 99, and I was playing his Break stuff. And then to see him having the same name and see the sort of level of success, and also look, the music's quality. Yeah. You receiving a message from someone like that, You know he's been around for a while. You know that he probably doesn't message everyone.
Yeah, it's like I say, it's exciting. You know, it brings back that kind of. It's kind of why you're doing it again. You know, it's satisfying that you kind of, especially you know where you're trying to sort of play catch up again. Because I thought long and hard about, am I going to just kind of drift into this, or am I going to start it again? Hit, like you say, hit the reset button. And I just all the options. All everything just basically kind of pointed to, you know what, I just need to restart this. Fresh start, and it feels great.
So just to backtrack a little bit, only because we didn't actually mention it. Previous to Chicago Loop, you were working under the name Ant.
I worked under a few names, but the main thing was under Ant.
Right.
And which started in around 93, 94. I started DJing illegal raves, all these kind of things that were really big then.
Very good times then.
They were excellent times, and there's so much fun, and I owe so much of the last 20 years.
It sort of shapes you as a person.
Totally shapes. Yeah,
definitely.
And I had a lot of fun doing it, and then started producing around 96, 97. I took over running Kinetic Studios from the guy that running it at the time was a guy called DDR, good friend of mine, just been in Colombia with him.
Oh, right, okay.
So Dave DDR was running the studio, and he was getting married to move to America, and said, do you want to run the studio? And I jumped at the chance. So I ran that for...
So you were engineering then?
I was doing my own stuff, and I was doing engineering.
Right, okay.
I was doing a lot of hard house engineering.
Right, okay.
Which, it paid the rent, but it wasn't really what I wanted to do.
Right, okay.
So I started a label, and I tried to focus on my own stuff, and so I did pretty much that up until...
What was the label called?
Power Tools.
Power Tools.
Yeah. Okay. And it was... I've never been so much into the acid side of things.
Right.
I mean, I've made quite a few acid records, but I've never been so much into the putting too many 303s into the track. It's always been techno-based.
Right. Okay.
It was harder and faster than a lot of the techno that was around by maybe 5 BPM or something, but it wasn't full-on blazing acid techno.
Right.
And yeah, so I mean, I pretty much did that.
This is more sort of like the Liberator stuff was the blazing stuff, wasn't it?
That was a collective that I was in. It was like Liberators, Dave the drummer, DDR, Guy the geezer, and Rachel Rackett, and Giselle, and if I'm missing anybody, but yes. So that was kind of our collective,
right?
And it, just maybe 5 years ago, just started thinking, I just want to move on from this.
Right.
I kind of got a little bit bored.
I guess if you've hit the pinnacle of what you think you can achieve within a certain sound, then
to a certain degree, yes. I don't even think I kind of hit the pinnacle so much within that scene, even though it's a smaller scene.
Right.
I just fancied a challenge.
There's nothing more to achieve. I mean,
I felt that the music was going a little bit too acid.
Right, yeah.
For I know that. Okay. There was a wide.
There's less techno, more acid.
Yes, there were a lot of labels around the end of the noughties. Sort of.
Yeah, the back end of vinyl.
The noughties. There were at the early noughties. There was a lot of labels, and then obviously it got harder to make money on labels. A lot of distributors going down, and what happened is the camp shrunk. And it stuck to the one thing that it kind of knew best, which was acid techno. And it got to the point where it kind of turned me off a little bit because I wasn't into the music anymore as much. I mean, I like acid music.
You can appreciate it.
I can appreciate it. And it holds a massive, massive part of my life. And there's a lot of nostalgia there.
Yeah.
But I just got to that point where I said, you know what, I'm not into what is kind of coming out at the moment. I don't see a future for myself in this. I'm up for the challenge. I to be honest, I was a little bit lost, and it took me a year to figure out what I wanted to do.
Or was that sort of just feeling where you fitted into the?
I'd sold my studio. Puzzle. I didn't know where I wanted to go, and it just all these kind of changes, they happen quite slow. It wasn't overnight. Right, I'm going to stop this. I'm going to do this, and all of a sudden, yay! There's loads of tracks, and they're all great. And it took a year to, and probably even a couple of years, and really concentrate on the music and really try to polish the sound and try and get on some different labels as half the time as an unknown, but then half the time, like with Paul and Rich and Respect, they knew who I was.
There's a little
from
bit
the
of
past.
history.
There's a little bit of history, and they picked up on it straight away, and so there was some hits and some misses with it, and that's how it's really been over the last 3 years. Is some people know, some people don't, and it's interesting though. I've been asked a few times after meeting people, like, how old are you? But yes, so that's kind of the history.
The journey.
The journey, yeah.
So now you've kind of arrived that you found your piece.
I found my piece, yeah. And it's just, it's. I'm really happy to. I wish I'd have done it 5 years earlier, to be honest.
You probably weren't ready then. I think things have to run their course before you're ready to.
It's
like a relationship,
definitely.
Like a relationship. Before you can move on, you got to kind of. Because if not, you end up on rebound. It's the same as a relationship. You end up making a load of music that your heart's not really in. It's like when you break up with someone, you end up looking around, you bump into the wrong type of things, and
I was certainly ready for it when by the time I moved into it, and because like I say, I think I had to get lost before I could find my way out again.
Yeah,
and so for about a year or 16, 18 months, I was completely just didn't know what I wanted to do. I just knew that I loved the music.
Right.
I loved the music, and it wasn't even like, oh, I'm going to choose that or I'm going to choose that. Actually, a lot of it was to do with the giving up playing vinyl and moving over to digital and getting Tractor for the first time. That helped a lot, because all of a sudden I just got my groove back again.
Right. Okay.
Wow, I can get these tunes for £1.70 or £1.50, and instead of spending £7 on
piece of vinyl that you might not even like, that just sounded good in the record shop.
And it got my groove back again. And one thing I noticed with Tractor is I started playing on Tractor Scratch, and I started playing the same music that I had been playing previously, and it didn't sound good digital.
Right.
The London Underground stuff, it's rough and raw, and it sounds great on vinyl, and it sounds great in a warehouse on a sound system.
Right.
It doesn't sound great when you're playing it digitally at home in the bedroom.
And alongside,
it just sounds a bit nasty, And whereas the slower, kind of more funky stuff, it spoke to me, a lot more, and that's pretty much the transition.
Right.
I mean, when I first started producing, my first few records were kind of, I say tech house. We're talking sort of 1998, where tech house was still 140 BPM. I had a couple of small successes with it was a label called Talk, and I had a couple of small successes with a couple of tracks on that label.
Okay.
That were, I think they were like 140 BPM, and it was funky techno, really.
Right.
But things were fast back then, weren't they?
I think the fastest track I've ever written was about 136.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
And because it was a sort of broken beat, it didn't sound as fast as a 4/4 at 136.
Yeah.
But I mean, my tempo slowed right down.
Yeah, I mean, we used to be like 145 BPM warriors for so many years.
It's funny, isn't it?
But it's fun, It was fun times, and but yes, it's certainly time to move on.
Especially if you listen back to mixes and stuff that you've done years back, and you go, "Fuck, that's fast."
I did exactly that. I listened back to. I've probably got it on my phone still somewhere. It's Tokyo 2002 or something, and I already start my set with the funkier, more kind of proggy things, and build it up. And I think it was a player record on +8, so it was like dum 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 dum, and that's the start of the set. And Jesus Christ, where did that come from?
Because we're talking about speed and tempo, you ever stumbled across any ghetto tech stuff?
What, the whole genre thing?
Yeah. Detroit, I mean, DJ Godfather,
booty tech stuff.
Yeah, DJ Assault.
It's not totally.
Fast.
It's not totally my bag, to be honest.
No. It's just I thought, only because I mean you're a well-travelled, well-seasoned DJ. I thought maybe you stumbled across that. But yeah, I mean, I saw DJ Godfather, and it was probably like 145, and it was just like
just banging, isn't it?
banging.
Yeah,
yeah.
All 909 toms and kind of
that's
really
it.
heavy.
That's it.
Yeah,
with little sort of funk loops that are way too fast.
Yeah,
in the groove. You know, in America they call it stripper music.
Well, I played in Chicago after Fast Eddie once, and he had 3 strippers on stage,
right? Yeah.
And when he played Booty Call, which is acid, what was it, Acid Flash?
I know. Yeah.
What's it? Oh, God.
I know the track you're talking about. Though.
Oh my God, my girlfriend's going to kill me for forgetting the name of this. Acid Thunder. Acid Thunder, and Booty Call, and the girls were just going nuts, and I'm standing there, you know, it's like 22 years old from London, like, what the hell is this? You know, it was fun, yeah.
Yeah, I guess it translates. So, any genre that you have, any sort of, you know, you say earlier about it being the London Underground, but I mean that's well travelled as well. You know, that's moved well across the.
Yeah, it got copycat scenes in Venezuela, in
Europe
in
as
Japan,
well.
in
Berlin,
Europe,
there'd be a version of this. You know.
Yeah, in Brazil, you know, it's exported well.
I went to see DJ Rush. Have you heard of DJ Rush?
Yeah, I know DJ Rush.
Oh my God, I saw him in Hungary, you know, in Budapest. Damn, that was fast.
Yeah.
That was so fast. He had a mic. And he's got quite a camp voice, actually.
He's a big guy. I met him. He came to the studio once and had to duck to get through the door, you know, and he's a huge guy with massive hands and just with a really, really soft voice, you know.
Because he's like, do you like bass?
Yeah.
It's like... Yeah.
DJ Rush is great.
Yeah, I mean, the place was mobbed. I actually ended up there after I'd finished playing, and we ended up there as an after party. I walked in there and I thought it was just, I mean, it was banging.
Yeah,
but I mean, the atmosphere was great. The atmosphere, it was so energetic. It is infectious.
Yeah,
you know, that kind of, it's almost. People are just bouncing around more than dancing.
Yes, I have images. You know, people hanging from the rafters. That kind of crowd. You know.
Yeah, definitely.
Just nuts.
Yeah, I mean, I was very impressed today. I walked in there and I just thought the energy in it is off the hook. It really
Where was that?
It's in Budapest.
Okay, right.
Yeah, no, I played at Corventito. I think the name of the venue. Obviously, you never heard of it, but yeah, I played there, and we went up there, went to like an after party. He said, "Oh, DJ Rush playing, come see it." I was like, "Yeah, all right, you know."
After party DJ Rush, what can go wrong?
Right,
great,
fantastic. Yeah, it was good. So let's get back to London. Just to touch on it, obviously, I know that not everyone's that super interested in production, but it is good to talk a little bit because I'd be quite interested, you know, what do you use?
Everything is all in the box. It's Mac Mini, quad-core Mac Mini, and I mean, I went from having a full studio, you know, 909, Mackie Desk. I mean, the 909 and the Mackie Desk were kind of like the cornerstone of the London Underground thing, you know, and, you know, JP8080 and a Nord and Monopoly and... You know, to some analog synths, and went from. I used to play in Japan a lot. I used to go once, twice a year, and every time I'd go, I'd take advantage of the cheap synths over there and bring them back. And so I pretty much shipped a whole studio back from Japan over the series of like 5-6 years, and then had to move and kind of had everything in storage for so long. And that was around the time where, you know, Macs were getting better and there was more processing power, that it's like, hang on a minute, you know, you don't need, this is debatable, you don't need all that stuff anymore, and you can do everything in the box. I know there's a bit more of a resurgence these days with machines kind of coming back. It's coming back round, but yeah, basically I just use my Mac Mini. And I just bought a pair of Presonus E8s, which I think are really nice.
And what sequencer do you use?
Ableton.
Oh, you use Ableton?
Yeah,
okay.
Just so it's
so quick though, Ableton, isn't it? It's manoeuvre.
You always used to use Cubase, and so then I moved over to Logic,
right?
Because it's that kind of traditional sequencer, and I thought this is how I should, you know, continue with it. And I never quite got on with Logic.
Right.
And I've always had Ableton, and I just one day I thought, do you know what? I'm just going to write a track in Ableton, and it just came flooding out.
Yeah.
And I just never looked back since.
It's great for just for samples as well. If you like dropping stuff in,
Yeah.
I mean, which I do.
Yeah.
You know, I reverted back to samples. Ableton's fantastic.
My weak point in the studio is probably using synths.
Right.
Even though I've used them for years and years and years, virtual or real, I've always struggled a little bit when it comes to kind of, I could get the riffs down, but it's just always trying to mix them down properly. Or it was never really my strong point. It was a bit hit and miss. You know, sometimes you get something that's just great.
Yeah.
But then I'd be there sometimes for ages, going, you know, just for days. And so I like using samples and manipulating samples. And really, I think it harks back from the old 950, you know, Akai 950 or you know, Akai 3000 days.
3000 and 1000 XL
and recycle and really getting involved in sampling, you know, this way. And it just kind of that's where I'm more comfortable in the studio. I mean, obviously, just dropping a sample in and that will do. Yeah. That's not my bag.
But Ableton, I mean, you've got a lot of control over every little part of it, because you can just isolate something and then just retune it. That's what I think. Ableton's
and the in-house plugs are just superb as well.
Right.
I don't use too many third-party plugs. There's a few I use, but the Ableton plugs are just great.
Yeah.
You know, so it really is a one-stop shop. And I mean, it has its downside. It's because it can be so easy. I think you get a lot of people that just chuck a load of stuff in,
a load of loops
and
in,
go, well, there you go, I'm a
to get
producer
back,
now. And then there's a lot of young labels going, oh, I'll put that out, and it kind of saturates the scene. So, but on the whole, if you can do so much with it and really manipulate stuff. So yeah, it's Mac, Ableton, and nice pair of monitors and a 42-inch screen because I'm blind.
It is good to have a big screen.
Although I'm sitting about 2 foot away from it, so I'm getting neck ache. So, but yeah, I would like to maybe look into getting another desk or something at some point.
Okay. What about a thing about mastering as well? I see you've been.
I do my own mastering, but sometimes I do send it out. It depends on the label.
Right. Okay. Only I noticed that when I was playing homework on some of the stuff I didn't know about you. So
it's mastering is a bit of a hit and miss. I'm still learning. I mean, I don't think you ever fully.
Well, I mean, every track's different. Isn't it?
Every track's different, and it's just something that you kind of. I understand the concept of it. I understand the the importance of it. And I'd like to say that I think most of the time I get it right, but there's been a few times where I've sent stuff off and we've done an A/B comparison, and I'm like, right, okay, no, I didn't get that right.
Right.
You know, the label sent it off for mastering, but
right.
that's just it's something that wasn't really so important to us back in the day because all of our stuff was on vinyl. And to get it onto vinyl, you need to get it mastered to put onto the disc, get it pressed.
Yeah.
Which is something I'm learning about now actually, because I do have a sideline job cutting dub plates.
Yeah,
I work for a company called Vinyl Carvers.
Oh, okay.
And we do we basically cut one-offs of anything. I mean, it can be 7-inch.
What sort of stuff do you do?
All sorts.
Really?
All sorts.
Is it still big in drum and bass? Is that still?
Do you know what? I don't really do too much electronic music.
Really?
I do a lot of corporate stuff, which is really boring.
Oh wow!
But it pays really well.
Right. Well, yeah.
But I mean, I've done a few cuts for DJ Kryder.
Right. Okay.
Mihalis Savras.
Right.
Channel 4, like they did a show called 4 Music or something like that. Right. And they had people like Eats Everything come in and do vinyl. It was basically just like a mixtape done on vinyl when they filmed the whole thing. So I mean,
okay.
I've just done stuff for Facebook, for all sorts.
Oh wow!
It's MasterCard. It's
Really?
It's anything and everything.
So how can people get in touch with you regarding?
Vinylcarvers.com, yeah.
I
mean, we do electronic stuff, but the thing with the electronic stuff is it tends to be kind of one-off.
Right.
And
so it's expensive.
It's £45 for a double-sided 12, which is a kind of dub plate price. And it's everlasting vinyl.
Is it?
It's a different polymer to dub plates, yeah.
Yeah, because they used to run out, didn't they?
Vinyl you'd get 15 plays. Although Julian Liberator always said that his 10-inch always sounded better the more he played it. It got more crunchy and distorted, but he likes that kind of thing.
Right, okay.
Yes, this is an everlasting vinyl.
Right.
And we do some electronic stuff, but
do you know what? £45 for an everlasting. I mean, that's
double-sided. Yeah.
I mean, that's especially if you one of these DJs that sort of swears by vinyl.
Yeah.
I mean, that's affordable. I know it's a lot, but if it's one of your tracks and you like that showmanship of playing vinyl.
There's still a market for it. There's definitely a market for it. I mean, but we cut everything. We cut everything from love poems, personal love poems, through to techno, through to. I mean, I did 56 copies of Uptown Funk for MasterCard for the Brit Awards. It was a special acoustic version for everyone that worked on the show. And just before, I mean, this is going off topic, but. Just before Christmas, I had to cut 100 cats singing Christmas carols for Facebook. And I woke up at 5 o'clock in the morning for a week afterwards with these fucking songs in my head going round. I mean, it just drove me insane.
Cats singing
carols. It was 100 copies, yeah. And it was just a Facebook promotion giveaway. So I mean, yeah, we cut all sorts. So we'll cut anything. There you go. That's
a bit like painting a fence, I guess, when you go to bed at night. You can still hear it and see it.
I suddenly got halfway through. The job took me 22 hours, and I got halfway through, and I thought I suddenly felt sorry for the producer that had to produce it. And it was in a jazz style to make it even worse.
Really?
Yeah, it was horrible.
Where can people hear that?
It was just a giveaway. People like that. Some people like it.
All right. Well, if we stumble upon it, I'll fire up the link.
Do you know what? I don't keep me anywhere near. I don't want to go anywhere near that one. That was painful. That was torture.
Chicago Cats.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, that's quite. Do you know what? That is interesting because I know we were talking about vinyl earlier, but there is a resurgence as well. Obviously the more collectible thing. Is that especially with. Like my daughter's 17 and she started to be quite interested in vinyl, which is ironic really, because when she was a baby, I used to sit there going through records I was going to play for a weekend and she couldn't get less. Whereas now her bands, but she was Christmas, she had like Christmas list and some of it was vinyl and she had no interest in opening it. It was just like a collectible. It was something that she can keep.
It's fun. Yeah. I mean, I love the stuff. Absolutely love the stuff. With regards to playing it, I'm a realist and I want to move forward and play new music. But of course, I think any serious person who's into music, whether they DJ or not, producer or not, if you're into music, then at some point in your life, probably your teens, you're going to get into vinyl, whether it's popular or not. It's a great thing to have, isn't it? It's a real collectible piece of.
It's like the studio kit you mentioned earlier. I'm sure there's bits of kit that you have, and you're just so reluctant to get rid of it, even though you probably never use it anymore. It's just like it's the for sentimental value.
I do regret selling a couple of pieces. Yeah. But I try not to let it worry me. It's like just kind of move on. That was then. This is now. Maybe that's not the right attitude, but it's just.
I mean, I had a Soundcraft Ghost 32.8. I sold. I mean, it did just sit in the studio for like probably about 3 years, just using the stereo channel. on the whole mixing desk, but. I missed that desk.
Yeah, I miss my 909 and
yeah.
And in fact, there's quite a lot that I miss. But actually, at the same time, I'm not hanging on to it mentally, it would be nice to have them, but at the same time,
Yeah.
That
was Zen.
Yeah, exactly. I don't dwell on it too much, but yeah,
Right.
it was nice.
Okay. I know we touched upon your playing. You were in Austria last weekend, is that right?
Yes, yeah.
How was that?
It was very nice indeed. Actually, it was.
Austria's cool, isn't it?
I've always. I have to say, I saw the mountains. I'm a keen skier, and mostly skier. I have done a bit of snowboarding, but I was. Oh, do you know what? I'd like to stay here for a week and attack the mountains. But yeah, the club was great, really nice.
Do you know the name of it? Can you remember the name?
The Cantina.
Oh right.
It was in Linz.
Oh right. Okay.
Yeah, it was. I went over there with Henry, Dave the drummer.
Right,
yeah,
cool.
it was. Yeah, a lot of fun. I was still a bit. I came back from Colombia where it was really, really nice and hot. I came home and within
Austria.
Yeah, I think the day I left because we did the Caribbean coast, then up to Bogota, then down to Medellin, and I think the day I left Medellin was about 32 or 33 degrees, and then straight back to London. Caught a cold within 2 days of being there, and then went to Austria and just like shivering. But it was fun. It was a good night. Really, yeah.
How did the techno go out? I mean, techno works a treat in Europe. How did it go over in South America? Colombia, was it working?
Yeah, absolutely. Depending on the city, Medellin, for example, is your classic case where the city's a little hotter. So I always find that the hotter the city, the slower and the more kind of funky and housey and deep you can get. And there's exceptions to the rule.
Yeah.
But there's definitely a slight link to that. And the more industrial and cold the city, you can bang it out.
Yeah.
Bogota, because it's a little bit higher up, a little bit cooler. Obviously, kind of fits the trend. I could play a little bit harder.
Yeah.
But yeah, I played for Reconnection guys there.
It's a festival.
No, it was just the main reason I went over there was for a festival on the Caribbean coast, which is
good work if you can get it.
It's been a tough January. These was actually friends of ours from back in the old days, acid resistance.
Okay.
And my girlfriend Rachel said, look, I know you're not playing the acid anymore, but let's go to Colombia for a month or 3 weeks, and we go play the festival and just have some time on the beach. And I was like, okay.
Well, when you say it like that,
yeah. So I went to go do that, and I played what I would normally play, but I just sped it up a tiny little bit,
banged it out a bit.
Yeah, and just spent 2 weeks hanging around the north coast of Colombia in the Caribbean. Then went to Bogota to go play a gig with friend Julian Liberator, and that was played some techno there, and then went down to Medellin and played some slower, more about kind of the kind of stuff that
what a hard life.
Yeah, it was. Yeah,
it was great.
It was difficult. So that was very nice. Yeah.
Do you play a lot in South America? Or
I have done in the past.
Yeah.
Played a lot in Brazil.
Yeah.
Used to play a lot in Venezuela.
Oh, really?
Yeah, a lot in Venezuela. I haven't
heard much about Venezuela. It's like, yeah.
I don't want to cover too much on it. It's having some problems.
Really?
Yeah, there's some lovely people there. Met so many friends are there.
What political problems?
Yeah, political problems, and the scene just kind of, as a result of these problems, the scene pretty much. I mean, we were going there quite regularly, and the scene kind of sort of fell away a little bit.
Right.
And so we just stopped going there. And I had a particularly nasty trip once, and that was kind of like the last time that I'm sort of going to go there.
Yeah.
Played in Brazil a lot. Seen been going there for years and seen the evolution of the scene and how it kind of started underground.
It's really kicking. Good for them.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
And you been to Argentina?
No, just Colombia, Brazil, and Venezuela. Many times. But I'm hoping to try to, spread the love a bit more in
Yeah, I mean, South America is just
It's a great place, isn't it?
It's kind of it's a very kind of adventurous place to come when you come from Europe. The idea of going to South America,
Yeah.
it's kind of it's got excitement stamped all over it, isn't it?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I remember jumping in a taxi once to go from Caracas to a place called Choroní, which is again on the Caribbean coast, and it's up through the rainforest and down the other side of this mountain. And it was me and a friend, and we bumped into all these backpackers, and they were like, oh, how long are you on the road for? And it's like, well, like 3 days. I just got a cab from Caracas. It's 15 quid, And they couldn't work it out. They were like, oh right, okay. Oh yeah, I'm only here for 5 days. I got a gig. I had a gig last night. I got a gig, in like a couple of days. But no, just jumped in a taxi and. That's kind of that. I never did the backpacking thing.
Right,
It was always with a record bag from when I was like.
Well, you can't really with a record bag. It's not the same.
It's not really my scene, the backpacking thing.
No.
But I've probably travelled just as much,
Yeah. I mean, I played in Argentina. I arrived on the Thursday and their economy collapsed on the Friday. Do you remember when?
I remember this. So this was 10 years ago or something.
I arrived that weekend.
Nice. Have you been paid a deposit? Had you?
Yeah, you couldn't withdraw money out of the bank. So I played that. I went and done a sound check in the day, and I walked in, and it was this like huge warehouse, and it had like different tiers within it. It was massive. And I said to the promoter, what's it called? And he goes, in English we call it a big club.
A big club.
Yeah. But I mean, it was packed, it was going off, but that was the week that their economy collapsed.
I remember when
I
that
arrived
happened.
there and went,
wow.
this could be a disaster.
Yeah.
And also is that the police went on strike because they couldn't withdraw any money from the banks as well. So, I think civil servants could withdraw like a tiny bit amount of money. So we pulled up at some traffic lights, and there was these police on the corner. The guy wound down his window and gave us some money, and I was like, straight away, is this corruption? He went, oh no, they're not. The government aren't paying them, so we're giving them donations so they stay on the street, so there's no trouble.
Wow.
Wow,
it's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, we think we got problems.
Yeah. I'm big. I like reading about true crime. So of course, going to Colombia and doing the whole kind of Pablo Escobar thing.
Yeah.
But, you saying that I arrived in Brazil once, and I've just been reading about it in the book that I'm reading at the moment. One of the gangs there. I think I'm getting this right. It was Red Commando, basically waged a war on the police and the government. So they started attacking police stations and guys on motorcycles dropping grenades in police cars. And I arrived that week when it all kicked off, and it was like the whole city shut down.
Waging war on the police.
Yeah, it was basically, I think, that some of their. This is a proper podcast, isn't it? We're getting into. Sorry, I'm just spitting everywhere. So it was. I think they were protesting over one of the heads of the gangs had been moved to prison or something, and so they just send the foot soldiers out to wage war on the government and attack the police stations and everything. So, and what was quite funny is the book I was there for that weekend, and I'm just reading this book that was finished last year called Narco Terrorists, and it's my favourite genre.
Right. Okay.
And I'm reading about this weekend, and there's a whole section on it. So it's really good. But just you saying you arrived in Argentina that week, I arrived in Brazil. It was like a 5-day crusade against
right.
And so the Piracicaba gig was completely empty.
Right.
And then I think I flew up to Fortaleza, and that was much better.
Yeah. Jesus.
So it's interesting.
Yeah, no, it's good. It's good. Is there anywhere else you've been playing, like in sort of even like in the past or in sort of the?
I've always played in Japan a lot.
Yeah,
and I've done I took the Chicago Loop thing to Japan.
Oh, you've been already with Chicago. Oh, wicked. Have you been to Womb?
I've been there, yeah. I like the glass, the three tier with the restaurants, and it's the
they
glass.
got the phase-on sound system.
Yeah.
That hydraulically comes down at the beginning of the night. I've closed there once, and I played mid-time last time. And when I finish my set, like they sort of stop the sound, everyone cheers, and the sound system sort of packs itself away.
That's so Japanese, isn't it? Let's
hydraulics take it away.
Have a clap, at the end of the night.
Like stand there, and go shit.
Yeah. Oh, it's a great place, isn't it?
Yeah.
Japan. I played there a lot from my past.
What's the clubs you played or events?
Probably the biggest. 'Cause a lot of the clubs are really small in Japan.
Yeah.
But and after playing so many small clubs, and then I played with Yoji by Mahanaka.
I
know Yoji for over a number of years, and we played this place called Mother Hall in Osaka, and that was huge. I mean, that was just awesome. I played a lot of kind of small clubs. There was the one I used to play a lot was a place called Module.
Right.
For an outfit called Mass, and it was one of my best friends in the whole world is KN Kenichi Niwayama, and he's we're like blood brothers,
Right.
So he's always booked me a lot of the time. I've played just hundreds of times.
Yeah.
Over I think 12 years.
Awesome.
I mean, one year I went for 9 weeks and did something like 14 gigs at the beginning of the year, and then probably another 6 or 7 gigs after. So I can't even remember the name of any of the clubs. I mean, Module was the one that we played.
Have you been to Osaka?
Yeah. That was where Mother Hall was,
right.
And there's a really great district in Osaka, and I can't remember the name of it.
I know exactly what you're thinking.
You can tell it because there's loads of skaters and there's loads of
it's
kind
like
of punk
Camden.
But
it's like when Camden was really cool. Camden in the UK, for those that don't know what we're talking about. When it was like a really cool sort of hangout place, Camden years back. That's how I thought of it. Osaka. I played at a club called the Triangle, and I came out there in the morning, and like you say, it was really arty, really artistic, and it was just lots of like kind of cool people just hanging around.
Yeah.
And also is the way that, I don't know if you noticed this, but one thing I noticed about Osaka was the lights and stuff. They had lots of lanterns on the trees.
Okay.
And at the time, I just remember thinking, this is really pretty. Like a pretty place to hang out. They're the words that came to my head,
I like Osaka very, very much so.
Yeah.
And Nagoya actually is another good place. I played a lot in a club called Meigo. I've played there probably 5 or 6 times. And that's kind of one of their main. It's only a small little club, and they've kind of renovated it quite a few times. Or I've seen it in about 2 or 3 different, kind of states or whatever.
Right.
But yeah, it's that's
Nagoya.
In Nagoya, yeah. There's a club called Meigo.
Okay, wicked.
That's a good place, yeah.
I mean, it is amazing when you get that massive culture shock. I mean, it's nice to go, when you get off a plane, you go, damn, this is so different to where I'm from.
Yeah. It's funny because I spend a lot of time with Ken and his family. And so I see Japan from kind of a home life a lot of the time, just because we're such good friends. But the first time I went, and I actually arrived on a different plane to the one I was meant to be on because of fog in Copenhagen or somewhere. And the guys didn't know, so it all got changed at the last minute. And I've arrived first time in Japan, and I've got to get from one terminal to another. And I was crapping myself. I just didn't know how it was going to go. But it couldn't have been easier. But it was just amazing, I think I spent the whole weekend with my jaw just open, just like, wow, this is great.
Yeah.
And because I've been so many times and seeing, so Ken's studio is in a place called Mito, which is kind of like the Norfolk of Japan. It's 100 kilometers, and I've done this journey so many times now. I know it's a weird feeling because I know this road sign's coming up next. I know this house we're going to pass is going to have a roof like that. I can this road sign and this road sign, but I can't read the road signs.
Yeah,
there's a familiarity, and yet still a complete.
Yeah,
I don't understand about the whole thing. It's an amazing place.
Yeah, I think so too. It's kind of that's I play in Taiwan, in Taipei, and Seoul, but Japan I've only been there 3 times. I mean, it's not been somewhere that I've been to lots, but I must admit I really enjoyed it. But then I like Japanese food, so
I love it.
And
I absolutely love it.
I'm definitely driven by my stomach.
Yeah, me too. I think. I know it's a cliche, but I think just going to Shibuya Station for the first time on a weekend in the evening and just watching 2,000 people trying to cross the road at the same time is just
bonkers. And down some of the side alleys and stuff like that, you're walking along there and it's like it's like going to Hong Kong for the first time. You literally look around when it's all late at night, it's all neon, and especially if it's raining, you're like...
Everything's glossy and lit up. And
fucking Blade Runner.
Yeah, absolutely. With the massive TV screens.
Yep.
Like 200, I don't know, but 50-foot wide TV screens or something like that.
And it's just that sort of neon. And it's so bright,
But I'm with you on the food there. I'm a ramen king.
Love it.
Ramen king, and it's actually Korean barbecue, but the yakiniku barbecue is superb. It's basically I know you know this, but it's a hot bucket with hot coals in it, and the menu, everything is basically pictures of raw meat.
Like marinated,
exactly, and they just bring everything and you just cook it yourself, and it's that's more a Korean style, but it's big in Japan.
Well, we're spoilt here. Just down the road is New Malden, which is a very huge, very large Korean sort of population. So there's even down the high street, it's probably 9 or 10.
There's yakiniku in New Malden.
It's New Malden is.
I'll be down tomorrow.
It's the Korean place.
Okay.
That's where my studio is. But I've overdosed on it. It's not as good as being in Seoul or
to avoid. This is going to sound really snobby now, but I tend to avoid Japanese food in England because I just know that.
What's the ingredients in it?
And the quality of the pork on the char siu men on the ramen is just, it's like butter. It's
to get good Japanese or Korean food here, you got to pay for the nose.
Yeah,
right. And that is the acid test here in Europe in general is that you have to pay a lot of money to get the quality of like a standard out there. It's a good thing about DJing in general is that the travel is I don't know if you're like me, but I would have never travelled like I've travelled if it wasn't
not at all.
The world's just through music has opened up.
Yeah.
And
my girlfriend Rachel is also the agent, and we've done tours just to kind of highlight how ridiculous it can get sometimes. We've done tours solely around theme parks.
Oh, really?
There was a period of time where we were just obsessed by, there was like a war going on in America. Who can build the biggest roller coaster? And we've done tours around. Right, okay, we're going to do this date on this date, and then so we can go here. We can do this date on this date, so we can go to this park. And we've done the same in Japan. It's like just. I'd never do a tour of theme parks otherwise, it's all using music as the excuse. But going to I'd never go to Caracas if it wasn't for music.
Yeah.
It's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah. I like the idea of South America. I like the idea of it. Have you got anywhere that is on your hit list of somewhere that you would like to go that you haven't yet?
There's a thorn in my side since when I first started, and it's Australia.
Oh, really?
I have never been to Australia, and I've tried. Rachel's tried to make it happen because she really wants to go as well. She's never been. I've been everywhere. I've been South America, South Africa. I've been in Israel, all around Europe, North America, Canada, Japan. I have never been to Australia, and it's the one place I want to go, and that's there in a nutshell. In a nutshell, but Rachel's working hard at the moment. She's just. I want to just touch on her agency actually.
Yeah,
because she's just starting this agency called Loud by Design.
Right.
And it's a new project, and the idea, she's kind of seen what I've done, sort of moving on with things and kind of doing something new. And she's run the Suffolk agency, Step Forever agency, for
forever.
Over 10 years. She took it over from. There were a couple of girls that run it before, and she took it over as hers, and she's been running it for so long. But she's now in the same boat because a lot of the artists on there, like Jerome Hill's on there, myself, Dave the drummer, Sarah Monument.
I know Sarah.
Yeah. Rachel herself, Giselle. You know, there's a few artists, and a lot of them have like myself have moved on and trying to change their thing. And so she's deciding she wants to do the same. So she's starting this new agency.
Okay.
It's a bit of a plug, this, but
mate.
I want to talk about it. So
that's absolutely fine. No.
Yeah. So her new agency is called Loud by Design.
Loud by Design.
Yeah, and this is what she's doing. She's doing now, and so it's all absolutely at its infancy. The Facebook page is done; it hasn't even been published yet. You know, this is how kind of early stages it is.
Well, when I put together this show, I normally put links on all the literature for.
Okay.
So I'll add the link.
We're probably going to make it live this week.
Yeah, so then people know how to be able to get in touch and book you.
Yeah, cool, fantastic. Yeah,
I'm going to Australia in about 6 weeks.
Yeah, that's I've had quite. I mean, we have contacts there, you know, and everybody from. The irony is that it got to the point where it was looking like it was going to happen, and then I changed my style. I just said, I'm not doing this anymore. I want to do this, and that was the closest I've ever got to getting my book in there. So
right.
A little bit frustrating, but
I think one of the first times I went out there, I met Umek and Valentino, and they were playing on another stage, obviously to what I was playing. And then I kind of went through a little patch where I think for about 6 different tours, I was always on tour with there was always a techno act. I toured with Slam, who were awesome.
Yeah.
I don't think those guys make it awesome.
Absolutely. I play loads of their stuff and have done for years.
Oh, yeah. And also as people.
Yeah.
You know, it's amazing that some people that have been around for so long are so grounded and helpful.
Yeah.
You know what I mean, you know, is that... Richie Horton. I mean, like every time I went to Australia, I ended up touring. There would always be a techno stage, and I'd be on doing the festival circuit. But you always land. You're always on the airplanes. You're always in the you know, sort of sitting there waiting for planes, and so you end up just talking to random people.
Yeah,
and I mean that's what Australia I've always thought was really good. Is I always come back. I've always met a bunch of other producers and DJs worldwide. You know, I met Mogwai. Have you heard of Mogwai?
I've heard it, yeah.
Yeah, German producer. And I met him in Sydney Airport. We had a coffee, and I come back, I hit him up and said, look, I've been listening to stuff, I really like it. Would you do a remix? I'm like, yeah, what? I would have never had the nerve to ask him to do a remix, but we just ended up having a coffee and having a chat and got on well, and, you know, I grew some balls and went,
if you don't ask, you don't get sometimes, isn't it?
Yeah. That's it. Yeah. So, what's on the horizon, like the immediate horizon? What are you working on? You're working on a remix with me.
I'm working on a remix right now in the studio. Is sitting there is a
quick plug.
Is your project actually? I've had a second bite of the cherry at this one. The first one, it takes me a long time to write music these days.
Right.
I put at least at minimum a week's work into a track.
Right.
At minimum. But no, I'm enjoying the one I'm doing for you. It's sounding really nice.
Yeah, it's a nice vocal.
Yes, it's great. It's great.
Yeah. That's for me and Neurodriver called Imagine That.
There we go.
And I've got another guy from Italy, from Bologna, called T78.
Right.
Quite banging. Ironically, I had a chat with him over Christmas, and he had moved over from Hard House.
Right.
And he had switched it up, left kind of Hard House, and started making techno. And again, like what I said to you earlier when we were having breakfast, is that I can tell when someone, like the way that, even though if a new name pops up, I can tell, you know, in my head that there's depth and there's an understanding.
There's history.
And also the way the arrangement is, like when you're playing music, you can tell if someone has actually played like a lot, because they understand arrangement and the drops and the builds and the way that, you know, they just have an insight, because it's some maturity to the music, and his stuff was exactly the same. I was thinking, he's not a new kid. This can't be. He's not.
Yeah.
He's not. He hasn't just popped up and went, here's my first few
You can hear the experience in just the way the tracks put
and he
together.
cut his teeth in Hard House. And do you know what? I never asked him his Hard House name either. Don't know why. But he's doing techno now. So it's kind of ironic. The other guy on the package is another reformed character. It's like, both of you. So really looking forward to it. I'm a big techno fan, and I definitely want it to be a major part of the lowering the tone sort of brand. I'm not gonna sort of shy away from the stuff that I like. So yeah, really looking forward to it.
Yeah, I'm enjoying doing this very much so. So.
Do you know what? I have to name check someone before we sort of wrap this up. It's Simon Potter.
Yes.
I've got to name check him because you're the second person that I've been involved with lowering the tone just by default. And I only met him last year, and he said, "Oh, you're meeting up with my friend Ant." So yeah, I just got to name check him.
Well, we went to school together back in the late 80s, early 90s, and yes, so we've known each other a very long time, and we share a place. We've known each other for years, and he used to work for Intergroove distributing.
Yeah, that's how he introduced himself. He's like, I used to shift your records.
Yeah,
that's how we met.
Yeah, it's weird, isn't it? It's a small scene.
That's right. Yeah. I mean, record days. I mean, when you meet people from back there, and also like it's weird because I never met him at the time. So I mean, meeting someone late, sort of later after the fact.
Yeah.
He was just like, he knew about my business, which is really weird when you speak to a complete stranger and they know about your business.
The London scene's a small scene, and it has many tentacles as well. So, but yeah, I mean, me and Simon, we used to travel up from Windsor and Staines and up to all kinds of free parties in the night. As soon as I passed my driving test in '93, it was like, right, let's go.
Well, I mean, back then, living out in the suburbs was a really good place to be if you're on the fringes of the M25, because you could get around all around London very easy.
There's a reason Orbital named themselves Orbital was after that the magic M25.
Do you think there's people in Chicago thinking you're the Orbital of Chicago?
Yeah,
they're sitting there going, oh my God.
I've often thought that is just like, and I sometimes think that they must think, what a stupid fucking name. DJ M25 from Chicago.
That's hilarious to think that there is somebody that lives on that on that Chicago loop, which would be like a road or a network of roads.
Well, there was a band as well called the Chicago Loop.
Oh, really?
And when I first started doing stuff, all my stuff on iTunes was categorized in put in the same section. I had to get my publisher John Truelove to sort it out, because it was it was on Spotify and Deezer, and it was like the Chicago Loop. So I don't even know what they were so much. I think they were kind of like sort of proggy rock, possibly folky proggy rock, something like that. And then there's some like the War on Music EP, which one? I'm terrible with names, even of my own tracks. You mentioned it earlier, on the Renaissance.
Oh,
we were talking about the EP I put out, and I can't even remember the name of my own tracks.
Oh, Nuclear Party.
Nuclear Party.
Yeah. So sorry.
So and then there's all this kind of like proggy rock, and then Nuclear Party slap bang in the middle, and it's like, right, okay, we need to address this. So fortunately, I think on most platforms now it's been changed.
Right.
So yeah, but yeah, the DJ M25 from Chicago is great.
DJ M25. I mean, but that's kind of sort of fueled, that sort of fueled the scene, as we had a way of getting from A to B around London very easy, and
what was
movement of the masses.
What was the car club called that when they first built it? You had to get around within in under an hour. I think before they put any speed cameras up, there was
really?
Yeah, when they first built the M25, the idea was, and it's all all the petrol heads would get together, and if you could get round it within under an hour, that was the goal.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, you can get round it in 2 days now with the traffic.
No, not at all.
It's like travelling across fucking Russia, trying to get around the M25.
You been to Russia, mate?
Yeah. I mean, I went to Moscow last year. I mean, it has quietened down because the economy.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what's it called? The exchange rate.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what you'd normally charge is like double for them now because of the way that the exchange rate works. So it's quite difficult to get shows out there because I mean they just can't afford.
It's a mad place, though, isn't it?
Because I mean, with some books and they go, can we pay you half because that's the equivalent of us paying you the full.
Yeah, but that's still half for me, though, isn't it?
Half yeah. So I mean, it's quieting down, but I've been over Russia. I played in a really funny place. I played in a place called Ufa.
Ufa. Okay.
And I got a cargo plane and got from one city to another, and it was like an army plane. Mm-hmm. When I got to the place, I sort of got ushered into the venue, and they put me in a room, and they had cameras, and I was like, and honestly, it was a club, but they had this room with cameras. And there was all these people sort of standing around the sides of it and sitting down. And he said, we do the interview now. And I was like, what the fuck is going on here? Right? No one's English was particularly good. And I sat down and they were interviewing me for like local TV thing. I sort of sat down. I was trying to be sort of like, he was like, hi, really, really uncomfortable. Yeah. Right, with the whole situation. Because I hadn't slept. The time difference, done 2 planes, got there straight to the club, no sort of chill out time.
It's very much like dum, isn't it? You get transported around. And
this guy came in, he sat down, I honestly felt like I was being interrogated. In the first minute, he said, what is your stance on drugs? I went, look, each to their own. I've got kids, so I'm kind of pretty well behaved these days, and I'd say my big rave days are behind me, sort of smiling, and then he goes, we are anti-drugs in this club. I was like, okay,
good to know. Yeah.
And he goes, we do not tolerate them. And I was thinking, are you telling me this, or are you asking me a question? Because this is like, and I was thinking, well that's a good thing,
Yes,
my mind is literally changing from moment to the moment. Thinking,
so you ain't got any Charlie then?
I don't want to get locked in this room.
It's a mad place, isn't it?
It is bonkers.
It's nuts.
I've been in Moscow before, and not Moscow, St. Petersburg. Went up to the rooms, and then they give me like a menu, and it was all women.
Yeah.
It was just in a hotel. It's like a hotel.
From the concierge.
You walk into like a normal hotel, the same as you would walk into like a Holiday Inn.
Yeah.
Went up to the room and they go, "Oh, you forgot your menu." And it was just full of women. I was like, this is bonkers.
It's crazy. We did. I've played in Moscow quite a few times, and Nizhny Novgorod, which is the first stop on the Trans-Siberian Express. And I've flown there a couple of times, but one time they decided that we were going to get an overnight train, and just we had our own private cabin. It was really comfortable, but what made me laugh was that they were using they had a TV in every room, and they were showing illegally pirated films, But this is Russian National Railway, It's like it's piped into every single cabin. It's just like films that are not even out in the cinema, and they were like cams.
Yeah,
for any. It's like basically like people's heads moving and as they're being filmed in the cinema.
Did they have the bunks in the?
They had the
Did they bring soup? Because I'd done the thing, and they brought in this woman with a big cauldron.
I
just give
you
a bowl.
They might have done. I remember the toilet being just a hole in the train carriage. Yeah. And it was January as well, or February, so it was like -40 or something, doing the first leg of the Trans-Siberian Express.
Nuts hanging out.
It's just
under the train.
Yeah, I mean, well, there you go. I would have never done the first section of the Trans-Siberian Express had it not been for music. So I would never have got a Japanese Yakuza boss in a headlock either.
Oh, no.
I'm just thinking, as you were telling the story, it's just...
what happened?
One man. I'm glad you asked. As you were telling the story, I just suddenly harked back to this what I thought might be quite good to end on just a story is we ended up in this club called a place called Utsunomiya, which is north of Tokyo. And during the weekdays, this place was a strip club. It was called Club X or something. On the weekends was a party venue. Anyway, it's quite a long story, but cut it short. After I played, we ended up in the VIP room, and one of the bosses of Yakuza was in there drinking, and we were chatting, and he ended up getting me a bottle of whiskey, like 23-year-old Hibiki, which is it's about 200 quid or something. I said, here's your gift, and I said, is it okay to open now? Yeah, I'll open it now. So we 3-4 of us drunk this whiskey, and by the end of the night, I had him in a headlock, giving him a knuckle rub, and trying to teach him the can, and just doing all kinds of mad stuff. So it was like, okay, it's time to leave. And there's more to it, but for the sake of time, that's the condensed version.
Well, I'm just saying that because the Womb, the first time I played at the Womb, I'd done a sound check. So look, if I'm playing at a very prestigious club, I don't want to walk in and not know what's going on. I want to know where I'm playing. I'd like to know what the sound system is, and also had a setup, because I want to play to the best of my ability. So I walked into the Womb, and the owner of the Womb was sitting on the middle of the dance floor in a chair, getting his hair cut. He had a hairdresser doing his hair in the middle of the dance floor.
Doing sound check.
Right, doing a sound check. Yeah, and I was like, oh, hi. And they were just ushering me past him. It's like, don't talk to him.
Yeah. It was the same with the boss.
I'm just doing a sound check, and there was just one person sitting on the dance floor getting his hair cut.
That's brilliant. That's so surreal, isn't it?
It is very surreal. So I'm thinking, shall I turn it down? And he was just sitting there watching the talent at his club that night, sound check. It was just...
That's fantastic.
Yeah, big power. Well, anyway, so look, thank you so much for coming down.
No, thank you for having me. It's been fun.
A pleasure.
Yeah.
So if anyone wants to get hold of you...
Two emails is for promos, I say remixes. I've just said that I'm not taking anymore. But for any kind of music related stuff is ChicagoLoopTechno@gmail.com.
Right.
And for any bookings is Rachel, spelled RACHEL, at loudbydesign.co.uk. And Loud by Design is all one word.
Okay, cool. And on all the Facebooks are just...
Facebook is, I think, do you know what? I don't even know what my @sign is.
I'll throw up the links with when I promote the show.
It's Chicago Loop-artist page, but I think the @sign is Chicago Loop Techno.
Okay.
Because I changed the name. I had to get in contact with Facebook to change the name on it because it was something stupid like Chicago Loop Techno, which didn't really quite sit right. So I changed it to Chicago Loop Artist page, but I think the @ is still for tags and stuff. But
all right.
Yeah.
Well, wicked. Thank you very much.
No, thank you.
As a tradition, can I get a couple of stings out of you?
You can.
All right.
You're listening to Chicago Loop on Lowering the Tone.
With me, Key.
Yes, okay. I'm building up to it. Do you know, I could talk all day, but when it comes to doing these kind of things...
You're on the spot.
Yeah. You're listening to Chicago Loop on Lowering the Tone with Meet Katie. Good? You want to take another one?
Yep, go on. Let's do another one, just for good measure.
You're listening to Chicago Loop on Lowering the Tone with Meet Katie.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
No, thank you. That's great.
All right, mate. Okay, I hope you enjoyed that. Thank you for listening. Another episode done and dusted. Can I please ask a little favour of you? Share the link, spread the word. We also have a Lowering the Tone group on Facebook. If you fancy heading over there and chatting, quite easy to find. And finally, I need to give my crew a shout. Matt Miles, Dan Van Dahl, Ben Coda, Neuro Driver, and their loved ones as well. Sophie, Louise, Agnes and Matilda. And not forgetting my loved one, Nadia. like I said at the top of the show, hopefully you forgot about world politics for 2.5 hours. Take care. Let's get our mics level. Hello. What's that? What's that? What's that?
Ben.
Ben? Who's Ben?